They're online. Media manager school. That's the school title, you know that?
Hello, I call to order the 1590th meeting of the General Student Senate for the 17th meeting of our 46th session. Notice that this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom and the recording will be publicly available on YouTube. Now I'll read the landing document. The University of Maine recognizes that it's located on Marsh Island in the homeland of the Penobscot Nation. Issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Penobscot homeland is connected to the other Wabanaki tribal nations, Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq through kinship, alliances, and diplomacy. The university also recognizes that the Penobscot Nation and the other Wabanaki tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. Will the clerk now please call the roll?
Keegan Tripp.
Here.
Cynthia Schamardak.
Here.
Joshua Bone.
Here.
Dylan Lehman. Jordan Thompson.
Here.
Nate Bang.
Here.
Jason McClure.
Excuse me.
Zoe Stankovitz. Here. Olivia Britt.
Excused. Mercy.
She's here. Israel Givafat. Carl Ricker.
Excuse.
Ray Vanderwood.
Here.
Ezekiel DeVorm.
Here.
Ryan St. Lawrence.
Here.
Dennis Stewart.
Here.
Joseph Elliott.
Here.
Riley St. Pierre.
Here.
Casper Cowan.
Here.
Briar Chapin. Excuse. Kai Whitehead.
Here.
Elena Dana.
Here.
Sky Van Beek. Here. Isabella Lambert. Here. Kayla Kearns. Here. Lazara Hartman. Excuse me. Peyton Warren. Jeremy Collins.
Here.
Zachary Zalal. Excuse. Ethan Crowdy.
Here.
Hazel Sparks. Here. Ryan Left.
Here.
Taylor Stanford. Here. Haley Inman. Here. Larissa Schultz. Jonathan Harper. Yes. No. Lauren Defoe. Kenzie Karpinski. Here. Alex Emmer.
Here.
Jackson Gamble.
Here.
Sheriff Bola Abed. Okay. Lori Sidelko. Dan Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Partisan. Here. Town Manager Clint Descheny.
Here.
Sean O'Mara.
Here.
I'm now looking for approval of the 09/09/2025 minutes from this agenda.
I move to approve the 2025 minutes of this agenda.
Second.
Hearing a second. If that's the pleasure of the court, it's adopted. Now on to the Robert's Rules of the Week. Under Robert's Rules of Order, members may use the motion previous question to conclude debate and proceed directly into a vote on the pending motion. This tool is designed to keep meetings efficient, but requires a 2/3 vote to ensure that the rights of all members are protected. This means that we would need 15 out of the 23 senators to vote in favor for it to pass. Now moving on to the general good and welfare, where any non-member may address the GSS for no more than 5 minutes. Do we have any speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into new senators, officer appointments, and resignations. Juliana Soper has resigned, and please, can we have Kai Whitehead, Elena, Senator Sparks?
I make a motion to suspend the rules and add Christian Moro Gordian to Senator appointments.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. All in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority of the affirmative, that passes. Now, Tyler Whitehead, Elena Donna, Marissa Schultz, and Christian Moore Gordon, please stand. Place one your hand over your heart. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the Constitution of Student Government, Inc.
The Constitution of the Union
And all other rules and guidelines
and all other rules and guidelines
to which I will be held.
to which I will
Further, I swear
further swear
to well and faithfully discharge
to well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter,
upon which I'm about to enter,
while representing my constituency
while representing the constituency
and the University of Maine.
of Maine.
Congratulations. Moving on to club maintenance, we're starting with the preliminary recognition of the History Club, which I invite to come speak.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Alright, so the History Club, is not a new club, but it's new this year because we, kind of defaulted last year under the, previous leadership, but we're starting it back up. And we have our first meeting this week, and in terms of the amount of people we have in our group, I think at the activity fair, we got 59 signatures. And then at the, I sent out a form for everybody, and I think about 30 people replied, which was awesome. And then I think the time that was the most popular got about 16 of those, so.
Great. Is there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
201 off the bus.
Senator Nor. Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate.
And ask for any funds in the future.
Thanks for the question. I don't think so, because it seems as though the history department has been trying to throw money at me so far that I don't need it yet, so I think we'll be all set, but maybe if that amount doesn't seem to actually have anything in it, it'd be more to for it, but I hope the winner is all that.
Senator Sparks.
What kind of events are you planning on holding?
We're doing a lot of trivia nights, movie nights, discussion nights, it's all gonna be very group oriented, so. Whatever people wanna do, I'll send it a form, I've already, one of the questions on the form is what area in history do you wanna talk about? It's very diverse, so that'll be fun, and then hopefully next semester after we fundraise. We can go to some like historical societies and museums, I think there's some history conference they wanna give us money to go to, so we'll see.
Any more comments for debate? Warren.
Any, like, what area of history we could try to focus on? Anything specific?
I think there was about 30 responses in the group. And there were a lot, I mean, it ranged from everything, one person wanted to learn about dinosaurs, which we're not gonna do, cause I consider that more prehistoric than I would in my range, but there were stuff like American history, ancient history, Greek, Viking, it was all over the place, there was even one person that really wanted to learn about postmodern New York, so I'll try, I don't know much about it, but I'll get behind my best.
Any more for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. I'd now like to invite up to the podium the Mushroom Club for preliminary recognition.
Mushroom Club is a new club on campus. What do you think? Right, it's a new club on campus. We plan to focus purely on the fungal kingdom as opposed to the plant kingdom or animal kingdom that other clubs focus on. We noticed that there's a huge gap here, a kingdom that isn't covered. We found a lot of interest in this area of study, mycology. We had over 200 signups at the organization fair, and over 60 responses on our When is Good. So we expect a very large turnout for our first meeting, which is on Thursday.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Senator Sparks.
What kind of activities and events are you planning to hold?
We plan on holding a foray, to go out and look for mushrooms. We plan on growing some as a club, as well as sending some mushrooms home with people. We plan on having a mushroom potluck to make some of the mushrooms that we grow. And our advisor, Dr. Avis, is a mycologist, and we plan to have him to speak and teach us some things about his method.
Senator Lawrence.
You think you'll need to be funding from student government?
Not in the immediate future. We plan to have a very robust fundraising plan that should be able to make all the money that we need. Maybe for a research idea down the line, but that'll be years out.
Senator Mark.
What would you say your largest cost, like growing and going out to take mushrooms would be?
Buying substrate and spawn to actually grow the mushrooms, could be about $30 per batch, if you would. But that's very within the realm of students and fundraising we're covering.
Senator Kearns.
How many members you guys have?
We're gonna go campus groups, but we have over 230 people on our email list.
Senator Sparks.
What kind of dues are you thinking of implementation?
We're planning $10 per semester, and that'll all go towards buying those supplies.
Any more points for questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
300 off pass.
Senator Moore.
I move to approve the committee's recommendations.
Hearing second, will now under discussion. Seeing none, debate. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority of the affirmative, that passes. I'd now like to invite up from the den, the Maine Student Media and Broadcasting Club for preliminary recognition.
Hi guys, I'm Al Follette, I'm the founder of From the Den. We're very new, we just started, last semester really. We are a sports broadcasting group, mainly, geared towards providing professional development for our students. Because I'm a journalism student and I found that, you're most likely to get, job appearances and stuff like that with building your portfolio. So we want to focus on, so far, we've got a lot of interest within photography, short form content like reels and interviewing, but also weekly broadcast. Last year we did a weekly broadcast, and that's what we want to implement this year, to get a good schedule for the younger students. Most of the interest that we've had thus far are freshmen. Currently there are 6 members on the exec board, and I've had the sign up for about 50, and thus far on our email list we have about 30. So those would be that is interesting.
Great. Are there any questions for the speaker? President Tripp.
This is funny because you're like a little Instagram celebrity now. Are you associated with any department on campus?
So we're gonna be under the Maine Business School. So that way I believe we get $1,000 from them. Because we have a lot of students within the business school, but also the journalism school. So I just think that going through that planning, we just thought it was smart to kind of put it under the business school bubble. So that's where we're housed.
Senator Sparks.
What kind of activities are you planning to do?
Yeah, we want to do some speaker events. So we have a faculty advisor that's in the Maine Business School. So he said he has a lot of connections with just production meetings and also marketing. So that's kind of also how we're going to attract business students as well as communication students. We also have some more kind of faculty advisors that are in the journalism school that we want to have kind of master classes almost of editing, lighting, different settings for photography, stuff like that. And also with just us, because all the exec board are seniors. So if we can share our expertise with the younger students, we want to kind of have some master classes like that when we teach the younger students how to do things.
Senator Sparks. How are you? To me, this seems as it overlaps a lot with the main campus. How are you going to keep those two things separate?
Yeah, so we are focused on sports and sports broadcasting. And we our vision kind of started out by highlighting the lesser covered sports on campus. Hockey gets a lot of publicity, obviously, but we want to focus on women's sports as well. Also getting into intramurals and club sports. So I think we're kind of more niche than the main campus. I do understand that there is some overlap. But again, I think it's really the professional aspect of having the students themselves say what they're interested in and let them do that under some supervision by the advisors and the exec board.
Senator St. Lawrence.
That you're gonna need any funding, government?
I don't believe so at this moment. I'm trying to get our regular meeting space in the ASAP lab. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but I work for them also. So they have a lot of equipment that I can kind of sign off and a contract sort of thing to be able to use that. So the only funding that we need is probably some sort of equipment related, but as of now, we seem to have everything that we need.
Any more questions for the speaker? What is the committee's recommendation?
3-0-0 off the pass.
Senator DeLore.
I'm gonna go with the committee's recommendation.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Debate. All in favor? Oh. Senator Sparks.
This is less of like, I'm completely against it and more like, I'm concerned on how much this overlaps with the main campus and whether or not this could have been a subclass of the main campus instead of a whole new organization.
VP Thompson.
The main campus doesn't cover broadcasting and they don't touch sports broadcasting in particular. They also, if they did it, they would probably focus on D1. Club has interest in covering club sports with their broadcasting. I think they're entirely different.
Lori Sadowko.
And maybe the president was gonna chime in on this. So we have direct funded student organizations besides student government, and one of them is a media group. So we've got WMEB, we've got main campus, and we have what used to be ASAP, which I think you're referring to the
Yeah.
lab for it, but it's still direct funded by student fees. So I guess I don't know what the difference is. Curious about that.
Senator Warren.
I was just gonna say, I mean, under the main business school, a lot of the stuff that we do club wise, kind of like Spiffy and these other things are based all about, focusing on trying to build a portfolio and learn actual like skills. And I think this is a great way for people to learn skills through the club aspect of it.
President Tripp.
I guess I'm on the total opposite side. This to me feels much more about like a very like a almost a club, whereas the main campus is like a profession. I don't mean to say you're not professional, but you know what I'm saying. It's like a subgenre of its own. I think that we should support this. I think that there's energy behind this, and they're also working with and out of these things. I don't even think there's yeah, do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like there's much conflict here as much as there is interest in kind of being more like freelance.
Right, and if I may, a lot of the members in the club have also been part of the main campus. So they don't see an overlap with that, they find a need within our club to fulfill something, yeah.
Yeah, and I would also point out to VP Thompson's point, the things that this club is doing are the exact parts of media that I know the main campus has tried to do in the past, but is phased out. So, I mean, unless the main campus was or had any intention to do that, I don't see any reason why student government would step in the way of recognition.
I don't either. I don't think that it's a problem being a club in any way, but I would recommend that you look and see if there is a direct funded media board that might be more appropriate to be under the umbrella of that already is pre-funded that they've been trying to work back active again. So I would just, put that out there. You can do whatever you want in terms of the club is concerned, but I think there might be another option that I can't remember where that was left. So it might be worth exploring, is my suggestion.
Senator Palmer?
And I think too, I mean, as President Tripp is best too, I mean, there's already interest in it, and I think. It's already kind of, I mean, we know from last year and they're already doing it, so at this point, it's just kind of a recognition for them to continue what they're already doing. And there's enough interest in it that I think, we should just do it, because it is really niche and. Really, there's a lot of professional development that can come from it.
President Tripp?
I think that I'm taking Lori's point, which I do think is valid, about potentially seeing if there is a more advantageous place for you to be on campus and support it. I think it's something that I think I would follow up on with you. I do think that the Senate should pass the preliminary recognition of this. That gives us 7 weeks to look into that. I would like some of our business school students, senators, to help me with that, to kind of figure out where this is coming from. I assume this is coming out of Dean Harkin's office. I know he's doing a lot of kind of like big expansions, which is a good thing.
Yeah, the previous faculty advisor was also in the Maine Business School, and he left and he kind of transited over to, Shane Perry, who's also in the business school, so I think from that's kind of why we got grandfathered into the business school. I never really looked into other avenues for that. So I would be open to that. I'm not sure who facilitated it. That's just what my understanding is, that we're under the business school.
I would just say, if the Senate passes this, know that we will connect
Okay.
separately.
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Sparks?
I agree with that point. I also think that since it's preliminary, we should pass this. I think we can get into like the May campus and what Lori had said about other options. For 7 months, and also since I'm the one bringing up this point and making this so much harder for everyone, I will also be so willing to help with that. And because I do think it's like can be cool, I'm just worried about overlap.
Any new points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Now, the University of Maine Student Chapter of the Society of Wood Science and Technology for preliminary recognition.
Hello, my name is Neil Underwood. The name is temporary, we're looking for something else. It's just a parent organization of like wood science and technology that we wanted to be associated with. But generally, this club serves like two purposes. It would be a place where we could gather like speakers or experts in the field of wood science and have them talk to undergraduate students and kind of get a greater awareness of even a lot of the research going on here at the university, as well as like larger concepts about the field. And then the other half of the club would be like a wood shop where students would come in overseen by a faculty approved like student or faculty advisor, and then work on like individual projects or larger group projects. So that's the general idea of it. Any questions?
Senator Sparks, what kind of events and activities are you planning to hold?
So it'd be like speakers or experts like in the field. One of our treasurer is from like the Robbins lumber family, if you're familiar, kind of big name. But yeah, so hopefully get someone from there to come in and talk about their experience. But yeah, generally, as far as like events, it would be lots of time where you can just come in and use the wood shop and make whatever you want. Within reason, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna need any funding from student government?
No.
Any more questions?
This is different from anything like that Kathy covers the pulp paper for wood signs, and as well as the Woodsman team with their woodwork.
No, this is different. This is more like finished woodworking and less like in the field. Yeah, more like wood products focus.
Senator Inman?
Is it gonna overlap with the woodworking that is provided in the IMRC labs?
I mean, this is individual, so. I would say No, I'm not very familiar with the other labs, honestly, but. I don't know, this club would be a place where you could go and you could work with other students and maybe like. Solve with them on your projects. I'm not familiar how the other labs work, but for me, that's just time in space where you can do it. Whereas this, you would have like other people without to. Yeah.
Any more questions? Seeing none, what's the committee's recommendation?
300 off the pass.
Senator Demore?
I move to approve the plan recommendation.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority of the affirmative, that passes. I'd now like to invite up Black Bear Esports for final recognition.
Hello, my name is Sophie Hurst and I am here on behalf of Blackberry Esports. Blackberry Esports isn't really a new club. We were around before COVID, but then COVID happened and shut things down. We have three things we really intend to do, three big missions. One is creating a healthy competitive space at UMaine for esports. This includes competing with other schools and hosting practices. We intend to do that in the esports arena, although we are not officially associated with the esports arena. The next big thing we intend to do is host gaming related events, mostly for the UMaine community. For example, first week we did pinball at the pinball machine just down there here in the Memorial Union. And the last big thing we intend to do is make sure that there are opportunities provided by the Maine Esports Collegiate Association, totally unrelated to UMaine. There's lots of great opportunities. For example, graphic design is a skill that several friends I know have developed from being in esports. There's also a lot of project management, so this looks good on a resume if you can get a good opportunity with Maine Esports Collegiate Association.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Commissioner Stankovitz?
Do you plan on competing like as a team?
We do plan on competing as a team with other schools, yes.
Senator Vanderwood?
Eight with you guys.
So it looks like the lineup for this year is going to be Smash Brothers Ultimate, Rocket League, I believe Rainbow Six Siege, and Overwatch. We were supposed to get Marvel Rivals, but we couldn't get the rights to that.
Any more questions? Senator St. Lawrence?
You guys think there could be any finance from government?
In no time in the near future, there is a solid chance at the end of the year, we're gonna try to get jerseys for our players. However, we could probably get that money through some kind of fundraiser.
President Trick?
I apologize if this has been said already, but how much do you utilize the esports arena? And how much can you utilize the esports arena for this?
Currently, as we're not in competition season yet, we don't use it. However, we do intend to use it once per week per team. So Smash, the training will be at the tournament that's already hosted here on Fridays, a weekly event. So 3 times per week, we use the esports arena.
Senator Sparks?
And do you have like an official partnership with
We
esports or no?
do not, we just plan to I just plan to talk to whoever runs the esports arena and just get that reservation. Even then, we probably don't need a reservation, it should be like 3 PCs at a time per day. Esports arena, it's that much use as is, so should be fine.
Okay.
When you say getting the rights for games, can you just give a little context on that? Is that like a financial cost to you guys?
That isn't at all to Maine, that has nothing to do with this club, that is Maine Esports Collegiate Association, which is the league we are competing under, but yeah.
And they get the rights to be, for you to be allowed to play. And do you pay anything to be part of under them?
No, we do not. And if we do, I believe last year the dues were $50, so I can get that.
Any more questions? Seeing none, what's the committee's recommendation?
300 on pass.
Senator DeLorme?
Move to accept the committee's recommendation.
Hearing a second, will now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. All those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Now for the Sustainable Environmental Action Division for the representative board classification.
Hi, guys. We're here to ask to be a rep board. We've been going through this process since last spring. Seed used to be a club. Now we're kind of trying to revitalize it with sort of a new mission and organizational structure. So to give a little bit of background, there's a club on campus called MESH. It's kind of like this, it's not a student government recognized club, but it's a collaborative between faculty, the Individual Center for Sustainability Solutions, and then folks who are officers in different green and environmental clubs on campus. And we've been meeting for like the last 3 years consistently and trying to figure out like what the best form for that take. The whole point of that club is to support all of the green and environmental clubs on campus and basically get more involvement, get more resources, get more people involved in those types of initiatives on campus. And then SEED, which used to be a club and a rep board, ended up going to fund my time at UMaine, and then we were like, okay, let's figure out how we can get SEED back. And so in that revisioning process, we were thinking that SEED is basically gonna kind of like take over the role that MESH was playing, so offer a space for basically allocating more resources and getting more people involved with different environmentally related and sustainability related programming on campus. So what does that look like? It's basically bi-weekly meetings between all the officers and the green clubs and organizations where we can like share out information about this event is going on at this time. Can you send it out in your email list? Like those sorts of things, like network building capacity. And then last year we did some events where SEED like co-sponsored testimony writing. So we brought people together and taught them how to write testimony for the Maine State Legislature related to or bills related to the environment, sustainability. And then we also have done like green club board fairs. So we did one in the Union last fall, and then we did a big like environmental / sustainability org fair on the mall in the spring last year, where we did like a cookout and had yard games. That was a big success. So that's sort of like what we've been doing, how we've been operating, like what the club does. The reason we want to be a rep board is because what we'd like to do is have SEED operate sort of as like a grant vetting apparatus. So like people can submit for projects that they're passionate about, like say like the bike packing club wants to get like an electric bike charger on campus and like wants to work with an advisor on that, but they don't have funding to do so. We're thinking that SEED could be an avenue for people to make slightly higher budgetary requests to student government, but SEED would exist basically to vet those applications first and make sure that they're legit and actually going to happen before we bring it to all of you. Any questions?
President Trick?
I've obviously followed this along to get here, super exciting. I'm curious just in terms of what you're thinking for like longevity of SEED to keep it going past this year. We've recently watched rep boards that we brought back last year kind of crash and burn. So I'm curious where kind of you guys are, like your head is at with that. And then also if you could kind of give a little background of like how you're gonna do elections within, I assume, the makeup will be presidents of the green clubs. So how that works.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of like who's an officer in seat, I don't think that like we're gonna try to like limit it per se to just people that are already in officer positions in green clubs. Like we kind of want it to be open to anyone who's really interested in being in that role. And then in terms of longevity, 2 of our officers are gonna be graduating this year, but then 3 of our officers, 3 of our officers are still gonna be here for the next 2 years. So we've got some good institutional knowledge that's like been building in the background, and I'm hoping that through doing more like events and outreach and advertising, and also like this whole grant application thing going out after we get rep board approval, I'm hoping that that's gonna get a lot more people interested and involved in being a part of something like this. I think there's definitely a chance that like, you know, if there are people that we fund this year, they might really feel like a seat is something that they could see themselves being a part of next year. So I think that's also another good way to get people involved in the future.
Senator Sparks.
I'm very excited about this. This sounds good. There's a lot of thought with this, which is good. Kind of advertisements are you planning on doing?
So are we primarily online advertisements through our clubs, Instagram and social media. However, we're also working with other great clubs to organize them, work with us to promote our club. And you know, encourage more environmental focused individuals to learn about our club and know how to do it and how to help us.
We also have a connection with the Mitchell Center, so we're planning on doing like this final event this year. Given that we get rep board money, that we will actually apply for a grant project. Where we have like kind of a symposium there, where different faculty and students come and learn about student driven environmental or sustainability related projects going on campus.
Any more questions for our speaker? Wow. Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
300 pass.
Senator Goulart.
I move to approve the committee's recommendation.
Hearing a second, will now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. All those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Thank you so much for all of our club speakers, and feel free to leave.
Or stay. You really have to say the or stay part, or it comes off differently. Get out. Oh my gosh. It was funny. Okay.
Okay. Seeing nothing under club presentations, I now invite our first guest speaker, Sean Amara.
All right, good evening. So I'm sure I have met basically everyone here, through the new senator trainings and onboardings, for new employees. I am your attorney as well as the student legal services attorney. I have had this role since 2012 and was a student senator as well here before that. Back in like 2006 or 7 or whatever it was. So yeah, so I've had a long involvement. I help students with all sorts of issues, whether it's landlord tenant issues, criminal matters, family law, small claims, starting businesses. People can really come in and ask about pretty much anything. If it's something I'm not a specialist in, and I find them referrals, or find them resources. I also review contracts for student entertainment and other, issues within student government, and have an HR function as well, where I take in, required reporting and that sort of thing. So as part of my appearance here, President Tripp asked me to draft a memo addressing the work of the Good Neighbor Committee that was done in Ohio, as well as the new ordinance that was approved as a result of that work. So you should have that memo, I would suggest that. You know, you read it and let me know if you have any questions. There are also 4 attachments included. The first is what was present from basically 2022's amendments. But it essentially addresses disruptive properties and what can lead to, you know, fines and other actions to engage with landlords to do remediation for properties that are deemed disruptive. So the big caveat I would say at the beginning is that this is obviously addressing a need within the community. These needs are not new. But there were definitely some incidents that led to the present situation, and I do address those in the memo. I also go through and list what the changes were and what some potential bad outcomes could be. You know, should those arise and what those effects are. So I would particularly draw your attention to that. Obviously, the committee's work is continuing, hopefully with additional student participation. Some of these issues can be addressed and the language can be honed to not lead to these potential outcomes. I also included a bunch of suggested changes towards the end. This was just off the top of my head, from my experience being a renters' rights attorney. And you know, address kind of a wide range of various things that could happen. And my expectation is that those will be addressed in the committee once the students have been seated, and hopefully some changes made to the language to address that. My biggest concern is that I think that it will be very easy for fines to be levied, even for first-time offenses. If they happen within the quiet hours, which would be 10 p.m. through 8 a.m., they could lead to initial $600 fines. It's my experience, and I included as an attachment, it was from a couple leases that I've seen of 2 of the landlords that were on this committee. Essentially, they passed all of the costs that are listed in the ordinance directly to tenants, in addition to other fees and any costs that will be related to any remediation they do with the town. So I am a little disappointed that that was not. And given I don't have detailed minutes from these meetings, so I don't know how much that was discussed. I didn't see discussion of that type of transfer of those fines in the media coverage. So I think that that's a big part of the issue, and I think that you know, that definitely needs to be addressed by the committee. I also think that in addressing you know, disputes between neighbors, which obviously can get very heated. I think that having an initial fine that could reflexively lead a landlord to engage in eviction may actually lead to encouraging conflict rather than discouraging it. If you're a tenant and your neighbor does not approach you and makes a complaint, and that leads to a reflexive $300 or $600 fine per person, which is how it could be charged. You know, if it involves a big party, for instance, which is 20+ people, that can also immediately lead to landlord fines, which would then be passed on. I think that if that leads to an eviction, or if that leads to those type of consequences, that's a lot of money for a student and could lead to an increase in student homelessness. I have, throughout every year that I've been here, met with students that have slept in their vehicles. So this is a problem, and it's a problem that I think is underappreciated. There are definitely students that end up sleeping on other people's couches. So it is of concern. I think other major issues, I think that there is a potential effect on the Greek-like houses, essentially. This could be used definitely with, you know, people congregating outside of their houses. So I think that it just doesn't take into account the reality of how, you know, those buildings have been run for time immemorial. I think also adding, you know, things like obstructing roads and that sort of thing. I mean, if you just have people that park near your property, that could be counted as that. Including illegal possession of alcohol by a minor as a triggering function for this. There are ancillary consequences to that, including several $100 for fines that you'd be facing in court. So when you add the fines that this would potentially trigger, you end up having an amount of money that a student may not be able to pay. There are also huge costs potentially if this is challenged and you lose in court. It allows basically the town to seek attorney's fees and court costs and town official fees. So that does potentially pose a problem. It's most civil violations, you have an opportunity to be heard in court to dispute whether or not, you know, what you've been accused of is actually borne out. So I think that there needs to be some adjustment to that as well. So yeah, I included some examples, like I said, do let me know if you have questions. Hopefully I've given a fairly fulsome history of this. And like I said at the beginning, I do understand that this is an ongoing process, and I understand that students are to be seated on the committee. So my hope would be that this ordinance can continue to be amended with some of these concerns in mind.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Senator Warren.
Is this ordinance gonna be like a lot more transparent? Like, are we gonna, you know, have the apartment complexes, is everyone gonna be known?
It's already been done.
Oh, it's already been done?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I would ask questions specifically about ordinance questions right now. We're about to have town council speak.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming here.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
really appreciate that.
Feel free to email me directly if you have questions as you're discussing, so. Thanks.
I'd now like to invite Dan Demeritt for our guest speaker.
Hey, good evening. My name is Dan Demeritt. I'm the chair of the Orono Town Council. It's an honor to be here tonight. I want to thank you for the invitation, to be with you and talk to you about our good neighbor work that we've been doing over the summer. I want to start with a little story. 55 years ago, Orono moved from a town hall meeting form of government where all of the people in the community would come together and vote on key issues affecting the town, to a town council form of government. So that was 55 years ago, 1970. Since that time, over the course of 55 years, Orono has held its municipal election on the second Tuesday of March. Anyone have any particular idea about what also falls here in the UMaine campus on the second Tuesday of March, year in and year out? Many of the time, most of the time. It's also with spring break, right? So when the residence halls are closed, when people who work at the university are likely out of town, when students who are registered to vote in Orono aren't here to participate, Orono will hold its municipal elections. That ends in 49 days for the first time in 55 years in Orono. When we'll have our first municipal election in November, when everyone's here so we can make decisions together. Here in the town of Orono, we're looking to build a culture that really honors bringing people together and what we can do as a college town and home to the University of Maine, because that is our competitive advantage. There's one town in Maine that's younger, has a younger median age than Orono. Does anybody here know what it is? Anybody want to guess? I'll give you a hint, it has similar makeup to what we have in Orono. Anyone name a town? Yeah, South Portland, no. Worcester? Not even close. The median age in Orono is around 21 years old. So half of Orono's population is below the age of 21, half of the age is over. The only town that's younger than us is Castine, Maine, where it was a tiny village of a town, and they have Maine Maritime. So they have a lot of students associated with it. The University of Maine, being a college town, is our competitive advantage. You see buildings in like Tyler Technology, that's brand new. That was for those of you who are brand new to Orono, that's been here, a couple of years. And they're here because the University of Maine is here. Many of us who live in Orono are here because the University of Maine is here. For me, like Maine Low, it's like I feel bad when people don't think it's like a holiday. It feels like, so no matter what you celebrate, for me, our family's Christmas, it feels a lot like Christmas to me. I'm so excited about the start of the school year, energy, and everyone coming to town. And we're looking to capitalize that by building a culture where we work together. So the election is one example. We work together, we had a student involved in our town manager search, Clint DeShannon, will speak with you in a few minutes. I'm excited for him to share with you a little bit about what the first month of the Good Neighbor ordinance or disorderly property updates have been, how it's been implemented and what our experience has been. He'll share that with you, but Clint's new to Orono as well. Not that, because he's a UMaine grad and a UMaine dad, just like I am. But we had, I think, the most open search for a town manager anyone's ever had. We had our candidates from public, we had people come in and visit with our candidates. And we had Darren Martone, who was the liaison to the Orono Town Council, served on that search committee with we made a special point in by Darren to be part of that. We also this year, we planned to have the loudest party of the whole year, but we got rained out for Orono Festival Day. We purposely scheduled that for the end of Welcome Week, the week of Welcome, because we want to systematize how we welcome people to town. Another interesting fact about, I don't know how facty this is, but it's ballpark is close. 25% of the people who live in this community, who will be living in this community a year from now, aren't here today. You're going to bring in the university will bring in a freshman class of 2,000 people. We'll have graduate students, transfer students come in and out. Those people don't live here right now. And we as a community, it's a quarter of our population, we're a highly transient community. We have to work hard and systematize how we welcome people to town, how we make them feel welcome, how we engage them in our process, and how we share what our expectations are for what it means to be an Orono resident, particularly if you need to live in an Orono neighborhood. So those are the types of things that we are working on to build culture and to build an expectation that we're going to govern together. We talked this summer about it's difficult and we have to have a conversation about how we engage with you in the summer, because we believe that student government at UMaine is an entity, a formal entity that we need to work with and have a formal relationship with, just like we do with the Penobscot Foundation, just like we do with Old Town, just like we do with the University of Maine itself, and administration of the University of Maine. So we very much respect your role as representatives, and we work closely with you to President Tripp to set up representation on the Good Neighbor Committee that'll help us as we implement the work of the Good Neighbor Committee, as we communicate what the results are and be transparent with the community and ask for input and improvements. We don't have any suggestion that we got this right 100% right out of the gate. But I'll tell you, as someone who's working in government and with institutions for a long time in a lot of different capacities, you gotta strike while the iron's hot, and as and Merrick Waters wrote a piece in the Maine campus in May 5th that really resonated with me when I read it in response about the Orono, the UMaine community and the acts of violence that we'd experienced in Orono's neighborhoods. So we got together, we worked fast, we worked over the summer to get this done, and now it's in place, but the work's not done. We have a lot of work to do. We're gonna have work to do year in and year out in terms of how we work together as a community to make sure that our neighborhoods, and we'll have conversations about, the Greek housing and things like that, and we think Lori's got her hands full, not hands full, but I mean, that's not something we're looking to take on. But the work we do when people are living in our neighborhoods is something it's a priority for us, and it's something we want to work on together. So I'm looking forward to these conversations just like this, where we'll hear what people have to think, we'll hear about potential ways to improve it, if there are unintended consequences that need to be addressed. We're all about it. You are, for those of you who registered to vote, Orono registers in a presidential year, will register. We're an education and enrichment community. I think we're leading education and enrichment community. We have the best local schools, we got the University of Maine, we've got a great library, we've got a planetarium, all those things that we have. We got the highest degree of attainment in the entire state. It matters to us. It's in the education business and we're the enrichment business, and we take that responsibility seriously. So whether it's for people who are first time renters, in the community, people who are first time, we registered presidential year. We work closely with the university, we registered between 1,500 and 2,000 new voters to vote for their first time in the town of Orno, in our elections. And now, because of the work we did over the last couple of years, when I first came to the student senate a couple of years ago as a candidate, I talked to you about changing the municipal election, from March, when everyone, spring break, municipal election, in during spring break in a college town, just didn't make sense to me. And I also didn't like put my signs up in the snow, knocking on doors when it was, sleeting and freezing rain. Well, I don't know if you all have to do that to get elected here in this body, but I did, and it's cold and miserable, so I'm not up for election this year, but I'll be up for election next year. And I'll be accountable to you, those of you who choose to vote. It matters to me a great deal personally as one leader in our community, and we're gonna make sure it matters to everybody who serves on the Orno Town Council and the decisions you make as a community, as a broader community. So with that, I'm gonna introduce Andrea Hardison, who helped us organize Orno Festival Day and kind of that big welcome party that we had. And then you get to hear a little bit from Clint Shan about so far what we've experienced with this sort of property where it is. Yeah, we're gonna, well, I think Andrew's gonna cover it, but go ahead, sorry. Thank you very much. Yep. More formal here than we are at our council meetings, but there's like so many dad jokes you can't even know. But so I think you're supposed to introduce her, not me, so I apologize.
That's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Harrison. I've been a resident in Orno since 1997. I live in the Webster Park neighborhood. And I approached the idea of the ordinance in the Good Neighbor Committee more from experience and what I have learned rather than how we punish people. When I first moved into my neighborhood, we have two large apartment complexes next to us. Parties out of control, and I was one of those people that I'm calling the cops all the time, it was like, it didn't work. So then I realized that if that's not gonna work, then what is? And my practice now, every semester, or at least every fall, is to, if I see someone moving in next door to me, I'll introduce myself, welcome them to the neighborhood. I find that it puts a personal aspect on who is your neighbor, who are you living next to. I, as a neighbor, know that people live behind me, that's what we do. But my expectations too are that my family is living next to you, sorry. My belief with the Good Neighbor Committee and having a student representative is that if the majority opinion is that it is a student issue, then there are voices within the student community that can also be a part of the solution. And that's what I'm hoping to see from those of you who participate in the committee and continue conversations with the town council.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Clint Shan, the town manager of the town of Orno. I've been here since July 8th last year, and it's truly is an honor to be here. Graduated in 1995. As I say that, I know you think that's a lifetime ago. Standing here in front of you, a graduate of this school 30 years ago, it was yesterday. It really was. And so I'm proud to be back, proud to be a part of this community again. Being on student government, I learned a lot. I actually was a person that participated in debates in this room about how we were treated during, well, actually next door, on how the elections were handled in the local. Some people actually ran a few times. It was quite the process. I would say without question, with this council, the community that brought me in, the people I met with, it's a whole different class. We're here as engagers, listeners, participators in everything that's going on. You are part of our community as much as anybody else. There's no us or them, it's a we moment. And I'm proud to be a part of that. As a student here, I lived it. I actually lived here my first career when I moved back from Boston after going to law school. And when the opportunity came to get back here as the town manager, I knew I had to seek that out. So much so that my wife and I and our families are living in 2 homes for the next few years as we figure out how to make a transition because our son's in high school and he controls the decision of where he gets to go to high school, because we weren't ever gonna force a move on him. So it's got its challenges, but I'm so glad to be here, and it's been worth every minute of the first few times. I've had the opportunity to speak with Sean. There's been some great dialogue started there. He's allowed me, I asked today if I could share the memo that's there to the town's attorney. We have multiple, but they're gonna review it, get some feedback, so the dialogue's starting. And that's how I see anything working with us. There's some great points in there, some things that probably never came up. I will just tell one thing really quickly, because it did get shared. Town of Warren Police Department not enforce anything on campus or at a fraternal organization. That's the UMSG, and we will not be getting involved in that, but it'll be in our responses. That is one thing that we don't do. So that's maybe, hopefully we can happily share more. Maybe our police chief can come and talk to some of you sometime to understand some of those relationships with UMSG as well. Because it is a partnership, but again, they run the campus, we run the town. As far as some of the data as we started off, this is really fresh. We're only 1 month in as we stand here today. Students only back a few weeks. But again, this is not student focused. And I will say based upon the calls of who's reporting them, it's coming from students, residents, the whole hill. It's not isolated to one area. This is neighbors to neighbors and tenants to tenant issues that we're dealing with. We've had what we would consider 12 calls for service that relate to this new ordinance, new or updated, I should say, new and updated. Of those 12, 8 were dealt with the community policing of the officers responding. They were either false calls, missed calls, or just there was nothing going on in that community educational moment. They left, nothing happened. So out of 12 incidents, 8 never went anywhere. 4, 2 each weekend, coincidentally, for the past 2 weekends, did. 2 of those, per the ordinance, they have to come to the town manager, to the police chief. Neither of them rose to the level of being a disorderly property. And again, we're looking at this, when you read the ordinance, there's multiple things that relate to this. But again, just simply getting a call and having to respond to a scene, when a person responds positively, takes care of it, there's no issue, there's no fine being issued, and that's how we're handling it. The other 2 did result in multiple returns to the same site, to 2 different sites, but on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, both of those did lead to a citation. One of which is, we understand, between the tenant and the landlord's already being resolved. So that's gonna be suspended. The second is ongoing, that was delivered late last week, and don't know where that will or won't go, but again, the officer on that one had to go back to the same site multiple times. It was a late night call. And they failed to produce a tenant. They didn't want to admit and who owned or was the resident there, so that's what led to some of the confusion. It's never easy, but again, we're not here for enforcement, we're here to just kind of work with it, kind of work within the community and build relationships, as Councilor Harrison also shared. Again, I think I just end with, I'm very much looking forward to this. If you ever have any other concerns, issues, thoughts, whether it's me, a counselor, or another department of the town, why don't you just stop and talk anytime? As I said, you are community members, whether you live on campus or in the town, we're in Old Town. We want to hear what's going on, what we can do to make it better. Participate in things we're doing. And I know it doesn't always sound fun, but it is really amazing to see how your community can change if you put in a little effort. All good?
Thank you.
Now, do we have any questions for our speakers? Senator Cowan?
Yes, so, across the 3 of you, multiple of you spoke about how you feel like students are part of the community. My question on that, to just kind of understand the thought process around the way that this ordinance came to be. From my understanding, the voting for all of this and the opportunities for the community to speak on this ordinance took place before students came back to campus or to the Orono area before the semester started. And I was just hoping that you could clarify on why that decision was made the way that it was.
Sure. That's a good question. Thank you for it. With this incident, the second incident, that was reported on, was in April, and people were outraged. I mean, there was an assault, there were, homophobic terms thrown around, and, someone who ended up in a physical hospital, wasn't, and residents were outraged. And it would not, it would not have been appropriate to say, we're gonna start this in September. At that point, given the outrage that we experienced. So we got to work, we worked quickly, we did have a student on the Gracie, Devil, is someone who we've been working with on, coming to the council and been, having conversations with us about renters' rights. So we asked her to participate, Lucy Delco participated, as a UMSG representative as well. All of our meetings were, we started our meetings in June, we had, I think, 6 or 7 meetings on Mondays in June. We did reach out, about any ordinance had a public hearing process. All of our meetings were online. Our committee meetings were all online. So if there are any questions about kind of what the discussions were, they were still on our YouTube page, and we invite people to go through those. We did reach out about our public hearing process, invitations to do briefings and have and we need to do better. Maybe it's through, maybe you need to appoint someone who's here all year round. Maybe it's Sean. But I don't know if Sean works, I don't know what his contract is like, but maybe that's the point of contact for, because people are busy with internships and other things over the summer. But we governed and we had to be responsive and we moved forward. And we were gonna invite people to help us make improvements and implement, but we were politically not, I certainly didn't feel like we were gonna just wait until September to start. So I was gonna appreciate that. 2 assaults, there's safety issues. People are not safe in our neighborhood. There's a fight in October at really press accounts. There was a fight in October. 2 humane swimmers were beat up, and there are charges pending that. And then this assault where someone went out and was assaulted on their own property. So we had to respond, and we did, and that's kind of what.
President Trick.
Mine is less of a question, but kind of, it's half a question, mostly commentary. I think, so point of information and stuff. We're in, whatever, okay. There is certainly, it is hard to reconcile the obvious implications for students and the timing of it all. But I do think that we're in a very unique, as we've kind of outlined today, town. Local government is important, but it's it leads with local for a reason. I do see how there isn't infrastructure for students over the summer to maintain representation. I think that is something that student government is working on right now to address. I think that we are looking at a certainly list of issues that I appreciate the openness to begin addressing. I'm waiting on an IFC and Panhandle appointment. Joseph, Senator Elliott here has been appointed to serve for us. So to Councilor Hardison's point about wanting us to engage, I appreciate now that we're able to. And I think that in the future, the timing was difficult. This is really me talking to the Senate. The timing here was difficult. And I think that the best way to approach this now is to look at this and how we can affect it moving forward and work now with especially Sean and our legal representative who was just elected in the Senate, and Senator Elliott, who is going to be serving on our Orono Town Council liaison position. It's not a good feeling, and it's also a warm feeling that there could be changes to it. I think that the council was put in a pretty impossible situation, but I also think that there were ways perhaps to have, hindsight is 20/20. I think that we can do a lot of improvements moving forward, and I would appreciate, and I think that having them here today is a testament to the fact that they didn't get it right the first time. I don't think anybody expected. I don't know how they could have gotten it right the first time without that infrastructure. So I think that this is good progress, and everyone should feel confident that the changes that need to be made can be made moving forward tonight. I know that was kind of a roundabout thing to say, but I wrestled with the frustration and what feels like the kind of back and forth between moving elections to a time where students can vote and taking this through during a time where they couldn't, but there was no good answer.
We will, I mean, we're happy to formalize something, this, you know, we're doing the same, not something, we're working hard to improve relations and with the town. In a formal way, and we'd be happy to have like a succession plan for, you know, what do we do between May 1 and September 1 or August 30th to keep people informed and engaged. Cannot, you know, very difficult to, like, my wife works in academic administration, and it's very hard to, you know, summer, people are off contract and those formal things. Town of Orono can't have that same kind of, as much as we want to special relationship with the university students, but we can make accommodations and, you know, who do we keep in touch with, who do we make sure is aware of what's going on. We don't expect people to tune into our meetings all summer long, just to, people graduate and change, and your process is what it is, but we can formalize something and build on it so that we have steps moving forward to, that we can be accountable for in terms of making sure the student government is approached and aware of what's going on, and has not really to dictate. That's the best we can do. Yeah.
Senator Sparks.
So from my understanding, this situation was a bit of an emergency situation based off of just the timelines of events that have happened, and the situation, the solution that you just shared with us was to have someone sit on the council or sit in on council meetings all summer long. And for us logistically, that's very difficult, as summer is typically when we catch up on full-time work and expenses for tuition and all of our things. So because this was such an emergency event, do you think logistically it's worth it for one of us to take the time away from our work to sit on council over the summer?
Yeah, this was, maybe not as the council lead, we only have one meeting in August instead of two. I mean, Gracie, who served on the committee, was I think she was in Spain or Portugal, she zoomed in, so we made accommodations so she could participate remotely. And we can certainly do that for anyone, you know, we're all same boat, right? I mean, we're all working, this is a largely volunteer, you know, governing elected offices. Has to be balanced between many other things, and not skip anyone's got more or less important things to do, but I do think we can be mindful of things that impact students. It probably don't need to, this body probably doesn't need to, you know, engage with us on what the budget's gonna be, public works and snowplow. You know, but clearly this was, and there was outreach, and I know President Triple, you know, our outreach over the summer, you know, there was outreach over the summer about our process as we got close to the Good Neighbor Committee and finishing its work and being opportunities for public hearings and anybody that can participate in our open meeting process at the council. But we can certainly be mindful of and have a process in place where we take special attention, take special steps when we know that it's something's going to impact students.
Representative Britton. First of all, thank you for coming. I appreciate the dialogue. I rent a house with a few roommates down on Penobscot Street. And we've been having a lot of trouble with our landlord over the past several months, dealing with property maintenance and mold problems, and the University Lawyer has been helping us. And I'm just wondering, to what extent does the town, is the town willing to foster the student community supporting our renters' rights as well as homeowners' rights? We're only here for 4 years, but and definitely understand that people need quiet places to live, but to what extent are you guys able to foster like a downtown that we can go to and maybe be a little louder? Because that's something that college students do, and foster spaces that are our houses that are safe and comfortable for us. Are there similar efforts going on to protect our living rights?
So, yeah, more of the town operations that I stepped in, not because, but I know a lot more about what's going on with some of those. I will start with the committee side. Graceland, Devil, she was involved in this. She actually has been working on a renters' rights type of stuff. But in this research, I worked with the university, reached out to them. There's some amazing things right on the University of Maine website about what your tenants' rights are. It's probably, Sean, you probably had a heavy hand in doing that. There's links to all the necessary locations. So the first thing the town's done is that's already linked on our website. We put all that and shared it out so that other people can find it. We got permission from the University of Maine to link it directly to their website, and they were more than glad to do it. So definitely look at those because every case is unique. Some of the ones you allude to, I would also take a moment, plug Orono Engage. It's what we're rating our reporter concern. It's anything you want to do, just engage with us. It's an online, QR codes are coming up around the town. You send us a link, you have an issue with code, we'll go directly to our code officer, who will look into it. Can't say it's guaranteed, but again, this is the constant balance. But yes, this is where I come back to you are residents of Orono when you live here. You're just as important as anybody else. The hard part of our job is we have to balance the interests of many people. And you hit upon one of these ones where I will tell you without question, there are weaknesses, and there always will be. And this is why I'm coming here today to tell you that we will work and build and foster a new relationship to make the changes as we evolve without question. This council, I know for certain, will support it. I know whatever feedback happens in the next year at the committee levels, as we look at the data, as we review the ordinance and get some of the feedback from legal services here, we'll make changes. Whatever those may be. We knew changes needed to be made, but the night it was adopted, that's government, sorry. But again, yes, we want to do that. We're open to it. I think part of the Orono Festival Day was putting out more opportunities for you to engage with counselors. Again, it's not fun, but we're trying our best to put out opportunities for you. And without question, please come to our downtown. Please go to the businesses, whether it's OHOP, Pats, Family Dog, OBC. There's some great venues here. They're there for you as much as they are for anybody who wants to visit down on a hand, so I'm gonna.
I'll be taking 2 more questions to our account.
This is directed at any of the speakers. So from my understanding of the Good Neighbor Committee, specifically written that students who are living on campus in Orono are not eligible to be.
No. I said that was moved out. We took it out.
Never mind, I revoked my question.
Because he asked us to.
Yeah.
Senator Sparks.
So you talked a lot about the research that you're planning on doing, looking at this being enacted. It was mentioned that there was an incident last October. Have you done any research since then, over the course of the past year about this, these issues that are happening, and if you have, what were the results of that?
It's an active criminal investigation with the district attorney. Our police chief is constantly checking with them for the status of it. The last report, both were extended. I don't know the reasoning behind it. We have spoken to the parents on a couple occasions and followed up with them just to make sure things are progressing. That was a very difficult situation. It was nothing of it was young people, a bad opportunity, a bad situation that led to 2 people being hospitalized with some significant injuries. We were very upset, and we've been on that one since then. When the second one happened, I think that was kind of what the problem was, is it became 2 in 1 year. It became very difficult for us, and we needed to represent the whole town. But we are following up again in that investigation with the district attorney. We're hopeful that we can influence some decisions there, but ultimately, some of the parties involved had multiple offenses, and how the district attorney deals with those or leads them out based upon their workloads is outside of our control. A joke I used with this committee at one point, it's just like the old show Law and Order. Town's the law side, the order is going on at the legal level with the district attorney. We have no control. Once it gets to the district attorney's office, we'll kind of.
Last comment by Trent.
Yes, I want to correct my previous statement. I hadn't told anybody that had been ripped out because that happened between last meeting and this meeting during the meeting with Senator Elliott, and I wanted to correct that on the minutes. That was my bad. And with that, I really do appreciate you all coming.
Just really quick, it was too, as an educational aspect for our long-term residents as well. But as far as who I call for what, whether it's a disorderly property, whether it's landlord issues, neighborhood issues. So they are working with the Orono Engage and making the website easier so that if there is a question, you can look to see who to reach out to. And if you don't know, reach out to the town council, reach out to planning. We're here to help you too.
And that's why you see those 866-4000. So if you scan that number, that's one of those signs in the neighborhood on your way back from Scott Street tonight. That's the Orno engage. If you have a life safety issue in your apartment that you think that, we have a code enforcement officer needs to know about, that's a great way to put it in front of the town. At 866-4000, and that engagement is we can't have people at midnight confronting problem behaviors. We have a fantastic community policing force, a law enforcement agency that's trained in de-escalation. It's their work to work through those behaviors, and as you heard from our town manager, you know, some of those kind of people, they show up, the things get addressed in the moment, and that's the end of it. And that's what we want as much as anything else. The enforcement stuff is there when you need it, because some people were not paying attention to problem behavior in Orno, and it was persisting. And now it applies to everybody. It applies to me where I live on Page Place in Orno. It applies to renters at Orchard Trails. So we've got, we're all in together in terms of the opportunity to do better. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
I wanted to extend my gratitude for you guys for coming here tonight. I know you've been very busy schedules, and I understand this is a dynamic situation at hand. And, yeah, thank you so much again. You can feel free to leave or feel free to stay. Thank you, everybody. Mayor Conlon? Do I hear a second? A second. Hearing second allowed as a discussion. Debate. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? So your fair majority of the affirmative, that passes. You'll into executive report, starting with President Egan Trump.
Okay. Hi, guys. First of all, I wanna say, someone shut the door, and then second, I wanna say, I felt like that conversation was.
The conversation went really well.
Yeah. Let me reset. All right, I think, wow, my next conversation was gonna say, I'm sorry that the meeting's going late, and I'm making it go later. Thank you guys for a productive conversation. That was a little bit of a, an awkward and a tough one. We all, and it was kind of my impression that we could have had a million different backroom meetings to kind of make that maybe go a little smoother, but I think it's just the best that we laid it all out there. I think you guys did a good job. I'm sorry again, Casper Cowan, Senator Cowan, and it's now written in my report, so I'm gonna go right into my report. Housekeeping, ordinance update. Senator Elliott can sit on the Good Neighbor Committee. So they removed the line that said that they had to be off campus at like I assume last Monday then. I don't know, it happened in between Senate and when we met with him. So that's a good thing. Exec fund usage. Over the summer, I covered VPSL FANG's budget with $7.58. I also covered the Black Country Squatters August through October renting of their storage unit off campus for $120 over the summer because Pam gave them bad information. It was our fault. It's not your fault, Pam. But it was an easy fix, but I forgot to report those. Old business cabinet is at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesdays. It was the most common time, I knew it would be, so get excited for those. Those will be fully remote and a Google Meet has already been sent to you. So, and there's a Google Meet is attached to the invite that's already been sent to you. For new business, all I have is my goals, so let's just go right through those. Number one, my first goal I said was expand student representation. My three subplots under that were to further expand and ideally finish the College Advisory Council with Vice President Shelberdine. To solidify policy to meet students where they're at. There's a few practices I started, like having the president or the vice president attend the IFC handheld meetings. I would like to put that into policy and do similar things with other representative boards should they want it. And then further push the university to include students in decision making. We've made a huge improvements on that the last 3 years since I've been here, but continuing to get students in the rooms during hiring committees, strategic planning projects, etc. Also giving direct access to admin, which is an ongoing project. My second goal is to finish streamlining our processes. I would like to oversee and assist with the final document updates. That's the FEPC policies that need just total overhaul. Working with to finish the cabinet policies, which I think I sent in something about recently, so we're getting there. And then also amend the Constitution with Senator Sparks through Polypro. Next, I want to draft and propose a finalized student trustee selection policy with BOT Rep Britain. This is a big deal. We need to get that done within the year. And that's something that will have kind of system-wide impact, so we'll keep you updated with that. And then finally, we'll be evaluating positions to see how they can be better utilized to set up. I think there have been places where perhaps positions can be moved around or changed to be more effective, and I'm gonna do that. Third is to solidify the syllabus bank project with the faculty senate rep, who will act later. I need to finalize the draft proposal language for the faculty senate, and then have work with their committees to get it in a position to pass. And then finally, pass it and get adopted with interim Provost McCat, who was a huge proponent of this when he was associate provost. So kind of strike where the iron is hot, or whatever was said earlier. Okay, and finally, support student entertainment. I genuinely think that student entertainment is part of the promise that I made last year, not just in my re-election campaign, but also with the push to raise the activity fee. I would like to make sure that SEC has the manpower it needs, not just on the ground, but also making sure that I'm readily available to kind of advocate for them when that needs to happen, which is already happening. I also have looked advocating for better and cheaper access to our own campus. I think that is a frustration that kind of rings true across all of our organizations, from clubs to even departments, FSL. I know, how much do they pay for the CCA rental?
A lot.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Thousands.
We're just shoveling money away that I don't even know where. And then finally, I would like to expand the student entertainment brand and engage with different groups and kind of make it, not necessarily, I don't want to separate it at all from student government. I think that's where its power is, but giving it kind of a base of its own, so that students and beyond student government finally engage with us about the concerts and events that they want to see, seemingly so bad. So hopefully they'll engage with us when we build those avenues. And that's the end of my report.
Great. For my report, I've set up an attendance Google Sheet and have sent it out to all committee chairs to fill out weekly, as well as created a scaffolding for standing committees to run by to give their decisions more structure and direction. If you're a chair of a standing committee, your binders are in the UMSG offices, and I'll be requiring you to fill out your attendance portion by Monday mornings. I understand that not everyone may be able to fill this out or meet this requirement this week. So as long as you have added, you go to your Senate space for your committee, that is fine. But that's for this week only. I've also set up a structure to keep track of everyone's individual Senate requirements, and I'll send out emails to those of you who are not fulfilling their requirements by Monday morning next week. I'm giving this week for people to join committees and for committees to set up their meeting times. Under section 3 of our standing rules, a senator will be dismissed by me, the chair, if they're not fulfilling their obligations. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to come to that. So if you're confused, please just reach out to me. If you notice on the agenda, we have 2 positions we'll be re-voting on, and this should go as smoothly and quickly as necessary. As a reminder, some speeches should be short and to the point. As a reminder, now that people are more settled with their positions, I will be enforcing the electronics rule more firmly this semester, as I said in the first meeting. Meaning, if you're not giving a report or directly aiding the meeting proceedings, your phones will be away. Everyone being in tune to the meeting and what's going on will help these meetings go faster, and you will be fulfilling your job as senator or rep by doing so. I have a meeting with Dean Giovanna this Thursday regarding the student advisory board, and after that, hopefully we can get the ball rolling on the implementing of similar student boards for other colleges. And the campus security committee also meets this week, and although we have Senator Inman as our security representative, I will still be maintaining my position on that board as a member. And then later this evening, I'll be giving a presentation on the annual call, so stay tuned for that. And I'll be scheduling a meeting with our services chair, Dick Young, regarding parking. There's been some progress with the Band-Aid solution for red parking in the graduate student park, but there hasn't been any advancements in long-term or building of new infrastructure to accommodate for the growing student body. I already gave my list of goals last week, but I'll just punch over them quickly. It includes the SAB boards for all colleges, the services committee, including the projects I started last semester, which includes lighting, sidewalks, pedestrian safety, accessibility, and parking. Structure for committee chairs for accountability and progress, and developing a way for research labs on campus more broadly advertised to prevent pigeonholing. And report. Moving on to the Vice President of Financial Affairs.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start with my official report. Our analytical figures is $423,969.87. This week we'll have a return allocated of $80 from Mountain Biking Club and an office budget that should be on the consent agenda, but is not. For women's gender and sexuality studies for $200. Now moving on to my goals. So I have 4 goals that I would like to accomplish this year. First is to help the Senate better visualize where funds are allocated throughout through the use of charts, graphs, and tables, so we can better manage and track annual spending throughout the year. I feel like better visualizations can help the Senate understand allocations that are currently being given compared to what the other communities are currently at in our budget, and help ensure equity and fair treatment of all unrecognized organizations. 2, I want to assess the value that students put on the events that we fund. I feel like if we utilize campus groups in our energy survey, we can kind of understand what value students put on the events we host, so that students can better get at least the $84 they put into us out of the events that we offer them throughout the year. 3, I want to facilitate a better experience or more experiences for our constituency than they would have during college life if they hadn't put them on the student activity fee, which is kind of in tandem with 2. But again, using understanding the surveys and visuals, I want to help the Senate itself encourage the best usage of student government funds in a way that will be appreciated by the most of our undergraduate student body. And finally, I want to work with clubs and on campus to provide a showcase of what a club does in a manner that provide entertainment for our constituencies, so that both the club can benefit by being able to perform what they do and what they work for all year, and being able to showcase and provide a form of entertainment for our students that are free for all of our undergraduates to go to. And report.
Vice President of Student Organizations.
Hey guys, SOC had a busy week this week. We had 5 prelim, 1 final, and 1 rep board classification, which is the first we've had since former VPSL Levesque and President Fairman established the policy last year. Since they passed tonight, they should have their rep at our meeting starting next week. We did have to vote down 1 club Ignite for preliminary recognition since their president was a grad student, which is against our policies. They have since appointed an undergraduate co-president in line with the sort, and will be back next week. Also, I've set up my booking link, which can be found in my email signature, which has both my office hours and the hours outside of those, so I'm in the office anyways. Make sure people can reach me if they need to. If you're on Senate, you can stop by my office for anything you need without booking if it's during my office hours. I've also completed my goals for the year. And if you want that full document, I can send it, but at a glance, I have refined rep boards, ensure all boards have a sitting representative by the end of the semester, ensure all rep boards still have interest in serving their constituency, and create new rep boards to continue serving the diverse student body. Continue to revise sort to help clubs with the process. Tweaks and formatting changes to make things easier. Reassess reactivation policies. Help clubs figure out how to start the meeting without being able to book a room. Ensure the SEC process is streamlined and accessible. Make sure that the note-taking process is transparent and accessible for future VPSOs. Create a thorough document that explains how to start a club and the UMSG recognition process. And report.
Vice President of Student Entertainment.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great week. I'm just gonna keep mine short, and I do have some updates like in there kind of so you'll understand, but my report is mostly just my goals. First, I want to focus on the Student Entertainment Committee.
When I first got to UMaine, there was no student entertainment committee, and the only people working on it were the vice president, and we had two ABPSEs back then, which was interesting. And to me, this was problematic for many reasons. First off, it does not allow students to be involved, and it creates an echo chamber where only a small group of people are working with each other, and that's not good. When this happens, we're not entertaining students to the best of our ability, and we essentially just end up putting on shows for ourselves. And I think that that is not good either. So that's why I want to try to avoid this. And secondly, I noticed that it's a problem of longevity. After this year, both Abby and I, the ABPSC, are gone. So we need somebody to replace us. So to me, working on an SEC shows students how to be involved and shows them what entertainment can be on this campus. And it gets them hopefully to apply to my position and have this position. And it creates a longevity in that. To me, expanding the SEC will look like tabling. I want to table hopefully almost every week. I want to have our face out there, let people know what we are doing, let them know that they can join at any time. Also, of course, having tables at our events and letting them know what we do. But I also want to put through policies to ensure student entertainment in the SEC are thriving. It can thrive far beyond my 4 years. Which will look like a resolution to make the SEC seat worth 2 points, which I think is very important to the continuity of SEC and student entertainment. My second thing is the concert. We raised the student activity fee and we told so many students that we will get better concerts. It would be unfair to them and just a lie if we didn't do a better concert. So that's why this year I want to try to upscale our concerts. Of course, we're not gonna be anywhere near a Jack Harlow level concert because that was a lot of money. But I think we have the opportunity to really expand and make a show and a concert worth students' times. So we're going to be going back to the one show. It's gonna be essentially like the main event show, and it's gonna just be hopefully as big as possible. Yeah, bigger artists, bigger venues, just trying to upscale it from what it has been these past few years. So if you're interested in that and interested in a big show, please come to SEC, which is meets Tuesdays 2 to 3. Super fun, we love that. And then lastly, with the bigger budget, I really want to try to promote others and others' ideas. These past few years, we have fallen into only really doing shows and movie tickets and not really anything else. So I want senators or other people that join student entertainment committee, you know, even if it doesn't work out, to come with like a plan for an event and we like try to work it out. And hopefully you guys can learn something about it. And I also want to try to make myself as available as possible and just spreading my knowledge that I've gained over these few years. So if you guys have any questions about how to do a contract, how to like work, like get a venue or anything like that, please come to me. I have years of experience working on 3. So please do them, that'd be fun. Abbey Hall is also available too, our ABPSC, to talk with them and to report.
Vice President of Student Leadership.
Hey everyone, as you may have noticed, we have new binders and name tags. Thank you to Senator Inman for spending 3 hours this morning helping me make them all. A huge thank you to BJ for printing and helping with hole punching. You also all have 2 lapel pins in your binder cover as well, or you should if they fell out. One UMSG one and one Maine one. There's gold and the UMaine ones are gold and silver, so if you wanna switch, or trade to find me, if we have a 5-minute recess, if we don't, find me at another time. I'm also gonna ask everyone to please return their binders back to the bin later, so they can leave it with you. Just cause I'm still working on them, for example, you're still missing some governing documents, just cause I know the sort of the standing rules will be updated soon, so I didn't want to print those. Reps and execs will also be getting binders this year, I shouldn't get to that this week. Last thing about binders, you'll notice that we have black and white binders this year. This is something new that I'm trying to differentiate between new and returning senators. To all my new senators, if you ever have a question about what's going on or what you should be doing, find someone with a white binder and ask them. Next point, I will be sending out a when to meet for SLC later. I have lots of ideas for SLC. I won't go into right now just for time's sake. But my goal is to have senators that are comfortable with the ins and outs of Senate, and especially senators that have higher aspirations, like committee chairs or exec positions sitting on FLC. Finally, my goals for the semester / year, I kind of split them into two categories. Revamping, which includes things like actually using the binders, having a more defined structure for SLC, reformatting the newsletter entirely, and working with President Tripp to revamp the VPSL position as a whole. The second is growth. Obviously, I want to grow the Senate and try to pack as many of the colleges as possible. But I also want to work with President Tripp on growing UMSG's reach and presence on campus. And that's things like during move-in week, orientation, and having. Did I spell that wrong?
No, but it wouldn't be funny if I held it this way. But anyway, this is what I saw. Maybe you were there. Yes, you did.
No,
No. It's okay.
but you did.
We both sides anyway.
Continue.
But I'm also gonna work with President Tripp on growing UMSG's reach and presence on campus. That's things like, during move-in weekend and orientation, having UMSG not be something that kind of is like a club that tables, but a more set in place thing and play a more active role and stuff like that around campus. End report.
Advisory to student government.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure you all saw Dean Gifford's message about the pedestrian accident that happened today on campus. I just kind of wanted to kind of increase your vigilance and talk to you about some kind of safety issues with lighting on this campus. As you know, lighting is not always fantastic, and it is getting darker and darker as the days go on. We can get you some flashing lights if you want to put them on your backpacks. We'll be doing some tabling and some pedestrian safety kind of events, but we have had 2 pedestrians this semester so far who have had an accident on campus. So please be careful and tell others to be, and we'll be doing some things that we can do to help with reflectors and lights and things like that. As far as goals are concerned, I have 2. One of my goals is to get to know you all and be as helpful as I possibly can to you all. I do have open office upstairs. You're welcome to stop by. If I'm available, I'll absolutely talk to you. If not, then Nancy can help you find a time that would work for both of us if there's anything I can do to assist you. And then my second goal is to get myself a recliner for these meetings because they're getting a little long.
Are there any questions?
I just wanted to give a bit of an addendum to my report, just for all the new senators who don't know what the consent agenda is, when I mentioned that to the office buddy goes. Any resolution that comes through EBC that is less than $1,000 gets put in the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is voted all on as one big vote. If you'd like to see one of those individually, and you give a speech on what was said at EBC, I can do that. You just need to call for suspension of the rules and to consider line item individually, correct? Yeah, but usually it just passes through, everything's under $1,000, and it's usually in the trust of the Senate that EBC approves those thoroughly. So any questions on that, you can find after the Senate, and I'll explain that.
Any more questions? We'll be moving on to periodic reports. Is there anything from faculty, Senate student representative?
Yeah, so I went to the meeting and I can post this in the Google Doc, because there's a lot of stuff that they want, but main point is the Black Bear Mutual Aid Fund attended that meeting and did a little presentation, and we're planning on having them come here as well to explain what they do on campus and how we can help them get more volunteers, raise more money, and better help the campus. It is not specifically a student-led project, and they want to show that they're also a 501c3 nonprofit, so they're a big deal. And then some other SRE updates, I'll post this in there because it was a long meeting with questions all over the place and not many answers, so and
University of Maine Board of Trustees student representative.
Hi, everyone. A longer report from me today, but this only happens twice a semester, so you'll have to survive. I attended the board meeting this Monday. It was at our campus. I firstly wanted to pass along the message from the board that Zoom during the public comment section is now available to everyone. You just have to register the Friday before the Monday meeting, so that they have time to make sure technical things work. Additionally, the board made note that they thoroughly read and consider all written public comment, but that anonymous comment holds much less weight to them for obvious reasons. On to the meeting highlights.
During public comment, there was one speaker from University Park discussing safety concerns for property and children on behalf of the University Park community, having received an email from the university that their parking spots, or some of their parking spots, would be converted into parking for additional students on campus, which is what E.P. Shelmer was mentioning. There were 12 speakers during public comment asking the university to divest from companies supporting Israel. They mentioned several times that Chair Riley has previously stated the board will not consider divestment unless the situation on the ground changes, and that was in November. The students and community members explained that the situation on the ground has changed, citing death tolls, and argued that the board should reconsider their decision not to divest. Chair Riley at the end of this indicated that there is disagreement within the board on divestment. For regular board decisions, there were several new programs appointed across the non-Orono campuses. And there was a discussion about streamlining course offerings between the schools and prioritizing collaboration between universities. So they're offering early childhood education program that's competency-based at UMPI now, which is very similar to a program offered at Farmington, both of which can be completed online. And there was a lot of discussion about why would we offer two of these programs online. It seems like a waste of money when they're accessible from anywhere. But those did pass anyways, and they just said this is a conversation bigger than this one vote. On our campus, up to $1 million was approved to replace the roof of the memorial gym, which I guess recently failed. I don't know what that means or when it failed, but maybe I'm just absolutely, apparently the roof failed. So the AI task force reported at this meeting. They recommended the rollout of a system-wide premium Gemini service for all students, staff, and faculty. They believe this will be a useful resource for students and will level inequity between students around paid subscriptions to AI resources. They intend to increase the technology need to fund this project and expect that increase to be $15 to $18 per student. They do not intend to allow students to opt out of the program. I felt as though my peers may have reservations with this program. And I touched base with the UMaine faculty representative to the board after the meeting. We discussed bringing this information to the appropriate chairs within our senates. And funnily enough, she's the technology chair as well, so she already knows, but working with them to consider a student and faculty survey or discussion before the program is rolled out. Obviously, I'm not the technology person, but I'm the person telling you that this is their plan. That being said, this, in my opinion, would be an opportunity for public comment. And we can do that as a Senate. We could put together something written. Individual people are welcome to write things. If we did put something together as a Senate, I'm happy to speak the public comment at any board meeting on behalf of the Senate. All options. Feel that we should discuss it further. And then lastly, I wanted to mention the fantastic engagement in the meeting by the two student trustees that we worked so hard to get to the table. They continually offer meaningful and thorough scrutiny to discussion. And actually at the end of the meeting, the graduate student trustee Worth motioned to bring the board into executive session, which does not usually happen at the end of the board meetings, saying that he felt that the public comment was poignant and deserving of immediate discussion among the board. And also referenced, but did not specify as some board action within the meeting he wanted to discuss further. The motion was seconded by the undergrad student trustee, Will Kemler.
That's so good.
And the vote sent the meeting to executive session. I was not there. I can't tell you what they discussed, but I am working with E.P. Shelmerdine and President Tripp to bring Trustee Kemler to campus to speak with you all. And he indicated that his goal is to be as transparent with us as he can be. All of that said, my goals for the semester are to complete the student trustee
selection policy write-up with President Tripp, increase transparency between the board and the student body, and establish an ongoing relationship between the student trustee position and the Maine student government. And
Chair of the Fair Election Practices Committee.
Hi, everyone. I hope your week is starting off well. For my report, all I have is that, my office hours will be on Thursday from 12 to 2. FEPC will meet at 1 on Thursday, if anyone wants to join. And then for the goals, for my goals for this year, firstly, as President Tripp mentioned, we will be renovating the FEPC guidelines fully along the polygraph, and this is just a continuation of all the updating processes that started last year. Also want to possibly start holding election workshops that'll be available for clubs and rec boards to attend. In the guidelines, it's said that the FEPC will audit clubs and rec boards and stuff. This hasn't been very efficient in the past, and so I'm hoping that this would kind of reinvigorate the process and not feel as demanding on all clubs and rec boards, but be there for support if they need it, instead of me reaching out to an endless void. I also want to, obviously run a good election this year. Last year, we had a response rate of 10% through the online program we use. This year, I want to at least get to 15%. A stretch goal is 20%. This seems like low numbers, and it is, but 10% is 800 people. And so it's a good amount, but I want to keep growing it, and I want to build on the momentum from last year. And I want to make in-person voting a bigger hit and maybe a bigger event as well.
Student Legal Services Liaison.
I have no official report, obviously. If you have any questions and you haven't grabbed a copy of what John Amaro was talking about, feel free to take a look at that. If you have any genuine legal questions, understand I cannot give that to you. Please reach out to Sean. If you have any issues with that, please reach out to me. I will connect you guys. And
Representative to the Graduate Student Senate. Does anyone have that report? Orno Town Council Liaison.
Well, I think the business of the Orno Town Council at the moment is sort of on the table already, but the next meeting is September 29th. I'll be attending that. I obviously have not attended a meeting yet because yesterday was all 10, not 11. So I next meeting was September 20th. I look forward to working with them on that. I will also say I will not be here. I will not be here in the spring because I will be on come up, but I will be here in the summer. So if the Senate were to create a position in the summer, not sure what that quite looks like, I would be willing to accept that position. I will be here regardless, but that's sort of, yeah. That's in the report for Warren.
Old Town City Council Liaison.
Okay, so last night they had a council meeting, September 15th. During that meeting, there was a couple of things that were vaguely relevant. One of them, oddly enough, is keeping chickens. Wouldn't have thought that, but I guess it's banned in Old Town currently. The state passed legislation requiring it's required to be allowed in residential neighborhood. But the reason it was banned in Old Town in the first place is it caused a massive rat problem. So that doesn't really benefit the student population living in Old Town. Whether or not they can really do anything about that, because the state has told them they have to, is sort of up in the air. They're sort of debating what their ordinance will look like going forward. They're in the early stages of writing a new ordinance, but that might be something that could be potentially an issue. End of report.
Representatives of Military and Veteran Student Affairs.
I have no report.
Director of Communications. I didn't know if they could have that. Director of Technology.
Hello everyone, so for my goals, this year as a DSW particularly, I plan to focus on 5 key areas. First, I will redesign and modernize the student government website, keep up the previous duty Williams world, make it more welcoming, easier to navigate, mobile friendly. Secondly, I'm planning to add a new accomplishment page to highlight what we are achieving here and a FAQ page to answer common student questions. We are also transitioning some of our funding request process to Canvas Group platform. So they will come back to our side, but yeah, they can start there. We will also planning to live stream the Senate meeting on YouTube too. And also, I'm planning to create a formal onboarding process for future DOTs, including a handbook and system documentation.
University of Maine Security Representative.
Hi guys. So I kind of went over my goals last week, but I'm working towards having students on campus feel more comfortable speaking to the officers of UMPD. Trying to schedule coffee with cops, which has been previously discussed, but yet to actually be executed. So that is my current plan. I don't have any like fast and like right now goals, but first and foremost, I want these students and UMPD to be comfortable with one another, and communication to be more serious, and able to be more serious. So that way when large things I plan to cover happen, we'll have a solid foundation and a report.
The Center for Undergraduate Research Liaison.
I'm sending an email to the Cougar rep to set a date to meet, hopefully sometime next week. But other than that.
Are there any questions for this? Seeing none.
For Old Town and the upcoming rat problem, is there a possibility of bringing cats to the upcoming?
As long as the cats don't also interfere with the chickens, I don't.
No, those, okay.
Any more questions? Wish to take this.
For the Old Town rep again, did they bring up the AI tracking software?
No, they did not make that.
What? I don't know, President Trump.
There's a service that is being adopted by a bunch of municipalities across the country and state, which is basically a way to kind of interface and see how people interact with your downtown, and where they go. It's anonymous, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing. I'm gonna have former president of student government and now town councilor for Old Town, Zach Wiles, come to the Senate at some point. So save your questions about the AI thing for him, because I know that no one in here can answer them. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but also look it up, it's weird.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, moving on to reports of standing committees, starting with policy and procedure.
Polypro has finalized its time to 5 p.m. on Mondays. Thank you to everyone who stuck through that. That took a while, but we'll figure it out. Last week I had emergency Polypro on Friday to get 2 resolutions passed that will be on the agenda. They just mysteriously are not there right now, but don't worry, they will be there. I am going to rewrite committee resolutions, starting with services, Polypro, and academic affairs. Over the course of the semester to revamp the goals of these committees. If you think that your committee has an urgent need for one, please reach out. Political activism has already reached out to me, and so we will also be rewriting that one over the course of the semester. I am looking through the standing rules and changing a couple grammar errors and other things. Throughout the course of the semester, I've already started that, but that probably won't pop up for a while. This is a reminder to all the senators that all senators can write and submit their own resolutions to Polypro. Additionally, anyone from the general student body can write a resolution, but it has to be sponsored by someone on UMSG to actually be considered in Polypro. So they would have to reach out to one of us to sponsor them. If you have any ideas or resolutions, please reach out to me. I would love to chat about them, just about possibilities, or if you definitely want to write them up, help write them up. I'm pretty consistently in the UMSG offices during the day, but just reach out to me first because I don't technically have office hours. Tomorrow we will be talking about the cabinet policies at Polypro tomorrow. And then next week we have a pretty fun policy going through that's already garnered some attention. It's BPSE's Dylan's or Lehman's change to make the SEC nominated person to credits requirements, not just one. So please show up to that one. And so we can hopefully hash that all out before it gets to Senate, and we don't have to stay at Senate that next night till 10 o'clock. And the report.
Political activism.
Sorry, hi everyone, we have also figured out our time and I'm looking at it, I forgot. We will be meeting tomorrow, so on Wednesdays, from 4 to 5 p.m. It'll be over before 5. In the Senate chambers, tomorrow, I hope to go over, as Senator Sparks already mentioned, some changes that I hope to implement. I've already talked to President Tripp about a potential name change. I think we can get a consensus on that one, but hopefully discussing that and the goals that would come along with that name change. So if you're interested in seeing more engagement and helping people understand our very tumultuous political system, then please come and we can hash out the goals of what an education and outreach kind of program for this would look like. So, yeah, and we'll learn.
Services.
Hello, everyone. Based off the went to meet and those of you who responded, the meeting times for services will be 9:30 to 10:30 on Thursdays. I know it's a morning meeting and a lot of people cannot do that. So that time is technically temporary. I'm going to adjust that as more people reach out to me about when they are available. Right now, they'll be in the waiting center. They're looking to get a permanent meeting spot to be within the Frozen Center on the 3rd floor, but then one of the conference rooms. So other than that, your report.
Does anyone have the report for academic affairs? Okay, are there any questions? Lori Snowbell.
I was wondering if the political activism chair wanted to remind everybody that today was National Voter Registration Day and that tomorrow during National Constitution Day that people also could register to vote. Do you mean to say that?
Yeah, for sure, and also, and also there's a pretty cool symposium thing happening through the political science department. I don't remember the time of that, but it's in the afternoon. It's a speaker from is it Colby or is it Colby? But it's Colby, I thought, so Colby College coming to discuss some stuff relating to Constitution Day. So look into that. I'm sure it's on the future.
Are there any more questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to report the special committee starting to student mental health.
Hi, everybody, just like to be back. I'm getting my first committee report of the semester. I got up to a lot of things over the summer and I have a couple cool opportunities I'd love to have some help with if any of you guys are available and interested. First and foremost, tomorrow, as I mentioned in the Senate chat, there will be the first meeting of the Black Bears Care Council that student government has been invited to sit on. This is a representative board made up of people from a wide variety of student-centered services on campus, ranging from UMPD to Office Under Student Life. This meeting will again be tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the Bumps room. I'm unable to attend because they scheduled it for one of my classes. I would really love to still have a proxy in the room, so if you are interested and available at the time, please let me know. In other news, next week on September 26th, which is a Friday, from 12 to 3 p.m. on the mall, Swell will be hosting its annual Black Bears Affair Fair, formerly known as Fresh Check Day. This is the suicide awareness event on campus every year. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really informative. It's going to be a really cool community building event. I'm looking for volunteers to help run a really fun and cool table. If you're free for any of that block and want to help out, please reach out to me again. Additionally, over the summer, I set up the groundwork for a peer support program, which is currently known as the PAUSE project. I don't like that name, and with my hectic schedule, both its naming and the project itself has fallen on the back burner. This is in collaboration with Student Wellness and the Counseling Center. If you are interested in getting an on-campus peer support network, please reach out to me so we can get that running. Finally, in slightly unfortunate news, no one showed up to my committee meeting yesterday. I am more than willing to change my committee times. All I need is student interest. I think that mental health is a really important value that a lot of our students hold near and dear to their hearts. So if you're even slightly interested in working on bettering access or knowledge around support services on campus, please reach out to me. And again, I'm more than willing to move my committee time. Currently it sits at Mondays at 2 p.m. But again, I'm more than willing to move that and report.
Food dining affairs.
Okay, so we decided our meeting time is gonna be 4:30 to 5 p.m. in the Wade Center on Thursdays. I have a meeting at 3:30 this Friday with Matthew Beagle and some of the other management at Sodexo. And I sent the rest in the Senate chat, so you can go look there. So I'll keep it short and simple.
Undergraduate student symposium. Are there any questions? Seeing none, moving on, representative board report starting with community and non-traditional students. Seeing none, honors college advisory board. Okay, seeing none, interfraternity council.
So we had to shuffle positions around because of my risk manager dropping, so I handed out applications last week and we're looking to, we shifted, our DEI chair to risk management just for, because it's had experience. So now we're looking to fill our DEI position. Should be getting applications in this week. I wasn't able to go to last meeting, so I have to reiterate that we are looking to appoint someone to sit on the town council as a representative of Greek life, so. I'll update you that on next week. And then we're doing Greek life trivias every Thursday, 6 o'clock at Wells. We've been doing them on the new patio, which has been pretty sweet, so love to see more faces there and report.
Does anyone have the panel and a council report? Voter Sunoco?
So for sorority formal recruitment last week, they had probably the most successful recruitment they've had in the last 20 years. Their retention was high, their satisfaction was high, and each of the 6 chapters was able to recruit 14 women to the sorority, so it was really great for them.
Hey, Student Athletic Advisory Council.
I have the report, our reps don't show up, so they can press it, I just do it when they're not here. SAC had our first meeting last night, and we had a really good turnout, and the athletic director, Billy, showed up. We're focused on upping our community services here and tracking our hours with the rest of the athletic director, so hopefully you guys see us out about more. And then soccer lost to UConn, cross country at their first meet, and it went well. Good luck to beat New Haven, football lost. And soccer has their conference opener this weekend at Albany, so wish them luck.
Senior Class Council.
Hi everyone, so we're holding our first fundraiser on Thursday, October 9th from 9 AM to 2 PM at the Union. So this is going to be a bake sale. We're focusing on holding items that are not typically found at bake sales, hoping to lure students in and do a unique speech release. Just a reminder, our general meetings are open to all and they're held on Tuesdays from 4 to 5 PM in the locker room of the Union, and I also have office hours from 8 to 9 AM on Mondays and Thursdays. And the countdown to graduation is currently 235 days, and we're working.
Are there any questions for speakers? VP Thompson.
Question for Representative Karpinski. Can you give some examples of these unique goods?
Yeah, so we're doing, so far we have chocolate covered strawberries, we have pumpkin with pies and peanut butter buckeyes. So more to come, but that's what we have solidified thus far.
Any more questions? Seeing none, moving on to community associate reports, starting with Student Heritage Alliance Council.
All right, hi everybody. The Student Heritage Alliance Council had its first meeting last Friday on the 12th, went very successfully. We had representatives from the Spanish Club, Japanese Club, Asian Student Association, Molly Moore, and the Franco-American Resource Opportunity Group. And here there was a lot of optimism about doing events this semester, such as the Friends and Family Feast as it has been done historically, as well as Culture Fest. And on the administrative end, I just recently secured the Instagram login, so we're going to have a much larger Instagram presence this semester. And myself and my advisor, Dean of the Libraries, Daisy Singh, are going to meet with the Office of Community and Connection to foster a healthy relationship, as there has been tension in the past, and we don't want that. And my goal for the short term is to reach out to the German club so that they can get involved with on the council, as they are historically one of the oldest heritage clubs on campus. And so that is my shine report and for
Feinstein. No report. International Student Association. Is he on Zoom? Okay. Are there any questions? President Trent.
For the SHAC representative, any conversation with the Nepali Student Association about having them join as well?
No, that hasn't been. I'll make a note of that. The Nepali Student Organization?
Yes.
Cool.
That's it.
Thank you.
Seeing no more questions, if it's the pleasure of the Senate, will be entering.
Sorry, motion to suspend the rules and add 46 as CBC for the consent agenda.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion.
46S, EC 84 is the office budget that's supposed to be on there, but it's not.
Any more discussion? Debate? All those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. No, President True.
It's up to the Senate, I guess, on one of them.
Okay. Well, you should call. I know. Senator Sparks.
Motion to suspend the rules and skip the 5-minute recess.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll enter discussion. Debate. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Nothing consent agenda or unpacked. Right. You're so right. We just skipped over 5-minute recess.
I know, but it's yeah, fair. Someone has to accept the consent, is there a motion to consider the consent agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to consider the consent agenda? None more.
I motion to consider the consent agenda. No, accept the consent agenda. That, I motion to accept this consent agenda. Second.
If it's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted.
So. No more to do that, you know. The consent agenda. That's not confused, the whole motion is voted. It's the same as the recess. We can call for a division to vote on it, here's just a. Yeah, that's what I mean. I was gonna say, it's not like last year. No, move on, unfinished business.
Seeing nothing for unfinished business, we'll now move into new business with nominations for Sergeant at Arms and Faculty Senate Representative. Are there nominations for Sergeant at Arms? Senator Longstreth. I nominate Senator.
Second.
I accept.
Any more nominations? Senator Sparks.
I nominate. Oh, sorry, I just am really bad at reading here. I would like to nominate Kyle Whitehead to this position.
Second.
You can either accept or respectfully decline.
I don't know what that is.
So
You didn't explain that.
Yeah.
Apologies, does someone want to explain Sergeant at Arms? Senator Kearns.
You would be responsible for two things. One of them is setting up before everything, the flags, you have to do the tablecloth. You have to set up the vice president's desk. Mention anything. Yes, that's me though. The sergeant at arms representative. Yeah, so. And then you're also going to have to do the food private union, so that like consists of meeting with Pam. I don't know, so you meet her, I guess, and then you get like a budget from her. And then you basically plan like what you're gonna get for food each day. So like you could get a pizza, or you could also have a car, and if you have one, yeah, you could also get delivery though, I mean, there's ways around it.
I'll respectfully. I don't have a car, I apologize.
Senator Town.
I'd like to nominate Senator Schultz.
Second.
Any more nominations? BP Fang.
I'd like to nominate Senator Stewart. Second. Respectfully, excellent.
Any more nominations? Senator Sparks.
I would like to nominate Senator Dana.
Second.
Any more nominations?
Nominate Senator Moral Morgan.
Next. I respectfully declare.
Seeing no more nominations, we can go to some speeches, starting. What? Starting with Senator Vanderwood.
Hi guys, my name is Ray Vanderwood. This position used to belong to Senator Stanford, and she was an athlete, so she would often be missing from these meetings. And towards the end of the year, she actually got injured and wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I picked up her duty, so I already know how to set up the flags or the tablecloths. I also have an idea for food. I'm thinking on Sunday afternoon sometime, I'd send out a Google form with a list of options, and you guys can choose and vote on which options you want, and I'll have that closed sometime Tuesday morning, so that way I have enough time to call the restaurant that we're ordering, give them time to prepare it. I also was extremely lucky and I got to work for a US Senator this summer, and part of that, I got to take classes to the actual United States Senator, United States Sergeant at Arms. One of those classes was how to deal with unruly constituents, so if anything ever happens in here and VP Shelmerdine needs people removed, I know, at least I have some training on it, I don't know how great it'll be, but we'll see. So, thank you, that's it.
This is your reminder, Dana, Senator Dana. Well, congratulations, Senator Vanderwood. We'll now be moving on to faculty senate student representative, are there any nominations? Senator Longer, and I nominate Senator Bradley.
Second.
Commissioner Sakovitz.
I nominate Senator Black.
Second.
So VP Fang.
Can someone clarify what the time commitments are for this position?
Yes. It's 3:30 to 4, or no, 3 to 4:30 on Wednesdays, every 4 to 5 Wednesdays. And if you give me just 10 seconds, I'll give you the exact dates. So that let's get these, be able to do them and run for this. Check your schedule. So 3 to 4:30 Wednesdays. Maybe that third Wednesday, but.
Senator Powell.
I nominate Senator Chapin.
Second.
September
10th, October 15th, November 12th, December 10th, 3 to 4:30. At Wells.
Okay, are there any more nominations? Seeing none, we'll start with some speeches with.
Senator Chambers is in the Senate space. And,
Read it.
oh, you're gonna read it loud? Oh, even better, actually.
So, but I'm starting with Senator Crowdy.
Hey guys, I read that speech, it's pretty good, you should vote for him. That's all I got.
All right. No more nominating yourself or another person for endorsements. It's technically against the rules and is just I understand, don't do it again, okay?
Senator Black.
Sorry, I'm like recovering from being sick, but hi everybody, and for those of you just joining in, welcome. They call me Cal. It is nice to meet you all, to the few people. So I'm gonna keep it brief tonight because it's already 8:30 and I like to sleep. So I want to reattempt to elect myself as faculty student. Senate student representative. Reasons for why I should be elected to this position have not changed. I feel I would be in a great position to serve this great role and to enhance my expertise in attentive listening and to fulfill whatever duties would be needed and to represent and express our interests of our UMSG and student body as needed. Considering how 2 of my classes are fully online this year, as long as having the freedom to travel and tend to the horses at Woodard Farm, as per requirements of my animal science class at my leisure anytime, I can almost certainly apply my fullest potential and skills to this position because I have enough time now. And to be honest, I've also tried for around 8 positions last week, but got elected to 0 of them. And I'm really eager to demonstrate my skill set to you all. The sensation has been burning for almost 3 semesters now, so please vote for me. And Velat is spelled Velet, as my card says. People have spelled it wrong in the past, but that's to avoid any confusion, but thank you.
I'll now be reading aloud Briar Chapman's. I've not read this before.
Point of information, his last name is pronounced Chapin.
Chapin,
Yes. Houston Chaplain. For that.
apologies. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I was unable to attend tonight's meeting. I didn't want to get anyone sick. As for the matter in front of us, I, Briar James Chapin, am running for faculty senate representative. You might be sitting there, either reading this or listening to whomever's reading this. Thanks if that's the case, exclamation point. And wondering, golly gee, why didn't Senator Chapin run for this position when it was up for election in the first place? Well, quite simply, I wasn't done finalizing all the aspects of my schedule yet and wasn't quite sure I was going to be able to fit it into my schedule. However, when I heard it was only once a month and the time did in fact line up with my schedule, I told myself I should throw my hat in the ring. As for my qualifications, I'm a ferocious note taker and able to parse, I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
And able to parse the important information from the unimportant. I consider myself friendly as well and would be able to make good connections with members of the faculty. And above all, I'm very capable of becoming what is essentially the Senate's mouthpiece. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been up for 36 hours. Within faculty meetings, if the Senate decides that something important should be brought up, I'm more than capable of presenting the Senate's concerns in a respectful yet resoundingly stalwart manner. If you consider me for this position, I urge you to consider me not only as a member of the Student Senate partaking in the faculty meeting, but as a voice of you, my fellow senators. I thank you for your consideration. Right, there's going to be papers going around for either Velat or Chapin.
Thank you.
And while we're doing that, someone should make a motion.
We have to motion.
Senator Navarro.
I want you to.
You guys please be quiet.
You should have the things, the new business announcement.
Yes. I'm looking for a motion from Senator Spark. Raise it up and put it on right now. I'm also raising my hand. I am holding this.
You've been called up.
Oh, my God. I motion to suspend the rules to add, resolution 46 S PLL 85, and then today's date to new business.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Debate. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority, that passes.
Will you drop it in the chat?
Yes. Are you presenting?
Oh, is that- Senator Allen, but since you're the chair, I assume you're operating under those rules.
Awesome, I have to look at because no one can find it.
Okay, well.
Covered, yeah.
I think something funny. I think I wanna move back to like a full circle. Right. Yeah. Well, I just think like there's a lot of like people, residents, I go into the warm seats, it's like towards us, but like way to everybody else. I'm just talking.
What about that room as well? Did you get that from?
No. No, it's, because with, scheduling and stuff, we would be getting it for free, and if they were to sell it to someone, we would not be having meeting of theirs. As
Even the downstairs, the dining room downstairs?
Yes. Sorry, and also that would mean any food that we had during Senate meetings would have to be for a plan, and that's not something we can afford.
Only we can put your kid in, because we have snow or no man.
I watched Pocket Man, which is Sergeant on time. With Dylan.
The faculty senate student representative is changing.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, this is just so quick and it doesn't make any sense to procedurally wait, and I know that it's already late, but essentially the act that is sitting in the Senate chat, you can all pull up. Are you in the Senate chat? Everyone go sit next to people who, someone go sit next. Someone help him. Okay, this act will essentially do two things. One, it'll allow for optional titles on resolutions. This is for two reasons. One, sometimes it's nice to have a title. Most things that you pass through things and bodies like this do have titles. But two, it's for searching purposes. Right now, if you want to find a resolution, you have to know that 46S, blah, 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 exactly to find it, or some keywords in it. So it's also for organizational purposes. The other change that is made is that it makes a delineation between an author of a resolution and a sponsor of a resolution. There are several reasons for this. One, it's important to know who the author is, especially when sometimes we send these resolutions to outside bodies. So they have the contact and to recognize who wrote it. And also, sponsors are supposed to act, as we kind of mentioned earlier, general student can submit and author resolutions, but sponsors are a means to get it to the floor. So necessary changes, Senator Sparks is going to propose an amendment to the end of it, which simply, and I promise you, does nothing but add the final part that wasn't added in Polypro that was brought to me afterwards, after it was passed, which also amends the standing rules alongside it to reflect those changes I just outlined in like a part of it, because there's a second part in the standing rules that there's like a template and then there's a list that says what's on a resolution, and we didn't edit those parts from the list, and that's it. So I would make that motion now. I guess you have to wait for questions, never mind.
Are there any questions? VP Thompson?
Not the motion, but it says an act to require titling, but then the resolution is written as if titling is optional. What's the intention?
Require. And Polypro will assign it in the event that, and that was outlined in the amendments, right? If that's not the case, I think the senators should motion to refer this to committee, because this is a resolution that is not finished. We should not waste any more time on it.
Senator Moore?
Motion to refer.
Hearing a second, we'll enter discussion. Debate. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority of the affirmative, that passes.
Yeah, next week.
I'm now looking for a motion to postpone my presentation till next year. Senator Demore. Hearing a second, we'll now end discussion. Debate. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? The clear majority, that passes. Seeing nothing left for new business or main motion or executive session, we'll now move to special orders announcements where any member of UMSG can address the GSS for no more than 5 minutes. Senator Sparks.
Sorry, this is gonna be really fast. It is late, so not sure how many people are gonna show up, but I will be going to Wells after this. For the new senators who are not aware, we tend to go to a restaurant after Senate meetings, just as like a bonding session. And it's either Wells or someplace off campus. Tonight it will be Wells, so if you want to go, people will be going straight there after.
Senator Van Beek.
Also, really quick, I'm the president of Club Swim, so if anyone is interested in getting some volunteer hours with their club, we have a home meet on October 5th. Just email me or text me in the Senate chat and your organization can get some hours through that as well. It's super easy, so.
Speak me, Fang.
Please don't lose your pins. I will trade at my office for next week. Please return your binding and name tags.
Senator St. Lawrence.
As a senator who's also very busy, so on UMC who's very busy, please make sure everyone, you are taking care of yourselves as well. Proper sleep, proper health, proper eating, all that good stuff. Please.
President Trent.
Thank you for staying attentive during a long meeting. I'm going to be spending from this meeting to the next meeting to make sure that the agenda is correct moving forward and that everything moves more smoothly through these meetings moving forward. Thank you.
VP Bone.
Anybody who has time should join SEC because Dylan's gonna be asking for a lot of money. And I'd like to see more than just 3 people overseeing where that funding goes. So please sit on SEC.
Where is that? It's in my office. They're in the back of the center.
And it's Tuesdays 2 to 3.
Any more announcements? Okay, seeing none, the clerk, please call the roll. Deacon Tripp.
Here.
Cynthia Schoenberger. Here. McGonagall.
Here.
Dylan Conklin. Dylan Lehman. Here. George Thompson.
Here.
Nate Shang.
Here.
Jason. Louise Higgins. Britton. Here. Israel Erica.
Here.
Rick Underwood.
Here.
Ezekiel Wilhelm.
Here.
Ryan St. Lawrence.
Here.
Dennis Stewart.
Here.
Joseph Elliott.
Here.
Riley St. Clair.
Here.
Here. Briar Chapman. Ty Whitehead.
Here.
Elena Dana. Here. Sarah Van Beek. Here. Isabella Lamberton. Caleb Ernst. Here. Sarah Harvey. Excuse. Peyton Warren. Jeremy Palmer.
Here.
Zachary Dewar. Excuse. Friday. Hazel Sparks. Here. Elliot Bullock.
Here.
Taylor Stanford. Excuse. Haley Isman. Here. Larissa Schultz. Fields. Kenzie Karpinski. Here. Alex Emery.
Here.
Jackson Gamble.
Here.
Lori Sadoko. Dan Jamerit.
The rest of us, yes.
Looking for a motion to adjourn. Anyone? If it's a pleasure to Senate, that's adopted.